Do what?
I said I plan to eat with or without you, sir.
Well, I plan on eating, but Patty wants to grocery shop, so you know how that is. And grocery shopping provides food, so.
That's debatable, which I'll. Yeah.
Oh, look, Art's finally here. Let's see if Art's really here.
So who's good at hydraulics?
Not me.
Anybody? 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 How am I supposed to consult when I can't find any experts?
How am I supposed to consult when there's no experts around?
Yeah.
Is this the cylinder for the tractor?
What? They don't make single action hydraulics really anymore.
There's Art. Howdy, Art.
They're all.
I don't hear you. I don't think that's me.
So like forums talk about you can unplug or like put some kind of funky plug in the other actuator and let air be able to, you need something to keep some water and debris and crap from getting in it. I have no idea what you
A sintered muffler. They sell them at Tractor Supply. They're so long, so big around, and it's basically
Say
just a
something.
sintered
Can't
air.
hear you.
you hook it on the hose and hang it or something.
No. Not hearing
Yeah.
you.
Well,
I can
you
see
put
you
it on the
talking.
tractor, pull the hose off the tractor and put it on the back of the tractor. It's a lot less likely to get messed up. Yeah, you can do that.
Water,
That was me.
down.
That's not what I wanted. I don't think it's us, because I can hear our test speak. Now I can't. What did I do?
Not done.
It is playing from there.
It's not even giving me the option to go up.
No, we don't need it over there anyway. Do
We really want to get to it.
Well, let's say we should be able to hear Art off the laptop.
Yeah, we should be able to. I don't know why this laptop refuses to acknowledge that TV. It has the ability to do that, except for that one time that it actually worked.
Right click on your speaker icon
Right click on this.
down in the task.
Hello? Hello?
There we are. We can hear you.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
Hi there. Turns out it was probably my fault. Hate to admit that, but I have several options for microphone, one of which is one that's built into the camera. It doesn't work very well. And that was the one that was turned on. I also have a microphone on my headset, and that was turned off. So I turned on the microphone on my headset, and you could hear me.
Well, amazing how that works sometimes.
Yeah, well, you know, it's all this mysterious magic that we use here. That so, at any rate, how's everybody?
Pretty good. Pretty good, I think. We haven't seen you in a couple weeks.
I'm sorry.
We haven't seen you in a couple weeks. How are you?
Well, 2 weeks ago, I think I was here. I got a recommendation for a router from Steve. I don't know, is Steve there or not? I can't see him.
Yeah, let's see.
Hi, Steve.
Greetings.
So I immediately ordered that Asus, what is it, 5300 something or another.
Yeah.
And it came in time for last week's meeting, but not for me to get it configured. Um, so I missed last week's meeting because I had things torn apart to install the new router. And I was having some issues with our favorite ISP, Spectrum. And three modems and one router which I own. Later I finally got it going, but not in time for last meeting. So it was interesting. I went to the office over here in on Route 32, and in I guess that's Batavia. And I walk in the door and he just pulled one out of the closet. And I give him the old one. He gave me the new one. And so it turned out not to be the router, not to be the modem, though. It was me figuring out how to configure the router. So it seems to be working beautifully. It's Steve, I think it's the same as the one you have, right?
No, I don't have one of those yet.
What, the 5300?
Yeah, I don't have a 5300. I've got a older one than that.
Oh, okay. But it was the one you recommended. I think you included. I'm sorry.
It was the one I wanted.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's $229, something like that, from Amazon. And it seems once you get it set up, it seems to work pretty well. So,
Nice.
and I have returned all of the routers and the new Swifty, excuse me, all the modems and the new Swifty router that they had installed in the first attempt to fix things there. But knock wood, seems to be going fine now. So
So are you gonna stick with Spectrum now, or? Huh,
well, you know, I've got a peculiar problem, and I don't want to waste a lot of meeting time on it. But the upshot of it is, 2 years ago, I had a sprinkler system installed in my lawn. At the time, the guys putting the sprinkler system in, cut the Spectrum coaxial cable coming in. And so it took several weeks to get that sorted out. Because they, in the process of laying their wires and laying their water lines and so forth and so on, they managed to sever the line, and that took a while to get sorted out. And bottom line is, I'm nervous about bringing another vendor in because they too will have to put a line in from roughly my sidewalk to my house.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's like a minefield out there. There is no way you can lay a line through that you aren't going to cut something like the sprinkler system. So I'm a little nervous about bringing a new vendor in. My son-in-law has alt fiber and he likes that a lot. So if I can figure out a way of not screwing up my sprinkler system, I will probably change to alt fiber myself. It's at the sidewalk. I mean, they put it in 2 years ago, I think it was. They came up and they drill under the ground horizontally and put a conduit in, and then once they've got the conduit in, of course, they can snake anything they want to through the conduit.
Yep, they're running fiber through Franklin right now. So
Yeah,
they've got the roads a mess because they're right along the road. Oh, it's just a nightmare. But they're making it better, supposedly.
well, I think the reality is, you know, all the communication companies are stuck with their legacy technology. So a large portion of them, of course, are still on twisted pair, but that has very limited bandwidth. So, you know, they gradually are upgrading. I think in some areas they're mandated to upgrade. But it's kind of like in the 50s when they were putting in the interstate highway. The interstate highways made things a heck of a lot better, but the guy whose house was taken over because the left 2 lanes of the interstate highway were going to come through his living room wasn't very happy about it. And we've got the sort of the same thing here. You know, when they put fiber in my daughter's old house, they tore up their front lawn, which my daughter and her husband had just had landscaped very expensively, and she wasn't a happy camper at all. But one thing she learned about was easements. If the service companies have easements, they don't need to care about anything. They just plow it up and the customer deals with it. So at any rate,
As far as I know, Franklin has never had fiber, so this is new. And I think they're just running at street level right now. They're not running it out to anybody's house, or it's just right
you
along.
know,
Right along.
well, they have to get it at street level before they can start running it to houses.
Yeah,
So,
well, I understand that, but they're not even marketing that they're doing it. It's just, I know what they're doing.
well, it's interesting when they first put it into our development here. They didn't market anything, and then all of a sudden, once it was all installed, every week we would get a little flyer in our mailbox about some special deal they were going to give you, higher bandwidth, lower cost, blah 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 blah. And
Yep. Sounds about right.
I think I may be at maximum bandwidth for coax at this point. I'm at 400 down and something like 20-25 up. Is that max, Steve,
No,
for coax?
It might be
no,
how far you are, depending on how far you are, but that's not my max on for that.
Okay.
Lengthwise, you could be at the cusp of the edge, but yeah,
Yeah,
you can do way more than that.
I think Spectrum offers a faster speed, a higher speed than what you're paying for.
Okay.
You might be, you might be. Right near, I doubt you're right near the edge, cause it sounds like. You're probably paying for. Something and getting something a little bit better. That's what. I was getting, what I was paying for from Spectrum.
Well, mine is what I'm supposed to get is 400 down, and I think it's 20 or 25 up.
Okay,
And most days,
that's,
when I do a speed test on it, I'm getting about 500 down
right.
and a little bit more than the 20, 25 up. So,
See, I was, I was paying for 300 and I was getting 400 plus down, but I was only getting like 5 up, which is what I was paying for. Or maybe 10, it might have been 10 up. It was disproportionate to what I was doing down.
yeah,
I may have mentioned this before, a friend of mine lives in Kansas City. And they were installing Google Fiber throughout the city. Knowing that he was getting like 980.
I just wanted to see it.
And he moved to a different neighborhood in a different apartment complex. And he's back to dial-up speeds.
yeah.
That'd be rough.
I'd try.
He said if he's going to do
You
any,
just got to a reasonable level at your place.
Yeah, that's what I said, I'd try. Going back
I was
to
saying,
voting.
for years, you haven't had anything out of your place.
well, when he needs to do something really significant, he gets in his car and drives over to his own house.
Well,
Yeah, I paid for the internet and my kids for quite a while because I was stuck with Spectrum.
I switched to AT&T to one of their wireless deals. And I've really only noticed a slowdown. A couple of days ago, I noticed that it slowed way down. I don't know what was going on. Maybe the storm.
Well, you've got 5G as I recall.
So according to AT&T, I do not. I'm on 4G. But according to the speeds that I'm getting, it's not even close to 4G speeds. It's gotta be 5G.
That
Yeah,
big
I know.
football thing.
But you know, yesterday, day before, when the storms rolled through and the tornadoes and that mess, that was really the only time that I noticed that I was having a significant problem staying connected. And I attribute that to weather. I mean, there's nothing you really can do about that. That was.
There's a tornado in my neighborhood, my internet is down.
Exactly. Yeah,
I've
I
had
hear the
telephone.
tornado sirens, but my internet doesn't work. Well, maybe there's a tornado.
I'm going to be honest, I've had dumber phone calls.
Mhm.
So I spent 10 years working at Cincinnati Bell as their Metro Ethernet operations lead.
Cool.
So, there have been dumber calls. Do you remember in 09 when I came through in the windstorm? So I went in on Sunday afternoon when the windstorm hit. I didn't walk out of that building till Friday. Okay. We had guys, we had people calling and yelling
Because they're
because their stuff was down.
not thinking that the weather might actually play a part
Well,
in that.
this was on Wednesday. I mean, the power was a bitch. There was no problem. We had, I had 27 generator trucks running 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
And I had 6 diesel tankers moving around to all the central offices just to keep the central offices running. Now, obviously, it's a utility. We're supposed to keep battery backups and stuff like that. And it's great. Everything's 48 volt. You know, we run a contingency and have generators or battery backup for 8 to 12 hours. That's required, and we were able to do that without problem. 120 hours, not so good. So We actually got to the point where voltage got so low in a couple spots. We were calling the manufacturer of the 5E switches, which is Alcatel. And we knew that they shut down at 36 volts. And we knew that. We were calling them and saying, what happens? And they called us, we were on the phone with their like top level support. And they're going, we don't know. The system's not, the way that switch is built, it's not designed to ever shut down.
Yeah.
So they're like, we don't know. It may not recover. We're going, that's not good. So at one point, they're like, what do we do? I'm like, well, we start shutting down everything we don't need. They're like, well, what don't we need? I said, DSL. Nobody has power at their houses anyways. Shut down our end. I mean, they don't have power at their house. They're not gonna have power. They're not, I mean, even if they got battery backup, they're not gonna be running for too long. So I'm like, just shut it all down. They're like, what do you mean? Shut down those Cisco's. Shut them all down. They're like, will they recover? I said, those should recover. Shut them all down. Like, those things eat great.
Many of those little Cisco's 535s did not recover.
It was, I'm talking about the big Cisco's.
Yeah.
What I was shutting down were the 9-card
Mhm.
fiber Cisco's.
LREs and stuff.
Oh, yeah. They're like, will it recover? I'm like, yes, I have a backup, even if it doesn't. Shut up, let's get it shut down. They're like, how do we shut them down? I said, pull the goddamn breaker at the top of the rack. They're like, do you want, I had people calling me and saying, are you, the people I told to do that, they're like, are you sure you want to do that? I'm like, yes. It was a really rough week. But had a guy call in yelling at us, wanting to speak to the president of the company. He had power. But the guy had built a super redundant system. He had to do 2 Generacs at his office. He had a primary and a secondary. And 2,000 gallons of gas. He had more gas than my central offices did. He bought us a generator. He brought us a generator to run his system. So he could still get transactions. He's like, if I bring a generator, will your people hook it up? I'm like, yeah, why not? Don't care. So his place stayed kept power.
I remember that very well, and I remember going, the internet was the least of
Of your worries.
the problems.
It was. It really was.
I mean, had the ham radio, so I still had communication, but how do I charge the?
Yeah, at a given point, you run out of power.
I had the mobile radio, so that was good. I could run on gas, but yeah, I remember thinking, internet, who cares? That's. I gotta get food for the kids, and I gotta get food for, the family. More than I've got to worry about other things, and there was nothing on. It was just
There's no power.
dark everywhere.
Everybody was dark.
It was dark.
This isn't an exact parallel. But the byproducts area of Middletown Works from the coke plant
Yeah,
doesn't use electricity as the sole source of power. It uses steam.
yeah.
So
That
in
makes
the
sense.
boiler house, there's a little glass globe with oil in it. You watch it oil the bearings on the big turbines.
It's a
And that-
McCoy oil. It's a McCoy oil.
Well, I'm not
It's the
certain
real
about,
McCoy.
I'm not certain about the manufacturer, but it got hit and broken, and it sprayed oil onto the control panel, and it burst into flame. And there were some badly burned people, and the boiler house shut down. So they're no longer producing steam. I'm in the byproducts area of the company. And they're thinking, you no longer have steam to run the exhausters, you no longer have steam to run the boosters. And we go into this mode of how can we conserve every drop of steam? Meanwhile, simultaneously, there's the confined space entry going in on inside a vessel that is the worst is dangerous that we could have. It has to be entered in a nitrogen veil because it has pyrophoric material in it that will burst into flame if oxygen gets in it. So everybody inside there is in an immediately dangerous to life and health atmosphere on pressure demand escape airline respirators. And go down to the contractor and say, get your people out. They say, oh, well, it's not gonna affect us. And I said, you don't understand. The people that you need to contact, if you have the slightest problem, they can't do shit for you. They are 100% occupied in keeping this place from going under. Get your people out now. And they said, well, will you sign off on that? I said, well, yes.
Yes, I will. Thank you very much.
No, I'm gonna leave your people in this vessel to perish in it. In this life.
As long as somebody signed, they didn't care.
They didn't care.
That's the problem. As long as somebody signed, they didn't care.
So.
They had the responsible party now.
Somebody else, it became not my problem, is what that meant.
Oh, why isn't this fixed? Go talk to him.
And that's fine, I'm
Kids
willing to
during
say,
that.
why isn't this fixed?
No, yeah,
But,
fine with
the exhaust system for hookup gas is cycling between the very, very bottom pressure and maxing out of the top. And so it's dolphining, the pressure is going like this throughout the plant. And things are getting really screwed up.
Oh, God.
I'm over with a guy who is operating, we're trying to operate the main valve to the flare stack for the system. Because the automated one runs on steam. So we're turning it as fast as we can one way, and then we immediately start turning it as fast as we can the other direction. My arms are turned to rubber. And we're going and we're going, and another guy starts running across to give us a hand. And there is a pallet that has been left out in the weather and is deteriorated. And it has turned a spike upward. He steps on it, runs it through his boot, through his foot, and out the top of his boot. There's nobody there. So best I can do is yank it out. Once you drive yourself to the hospital, I'm going back, operating the valve again.
Mhm.
So,
I've been lucky. I have not been in any, well. Only plant I've been in that's been a problem. Was there a fire? There was a small fire. At a Sherwood Morning plant. And that's, I don't know if you've ever been in one of those plants. There are a lot of things that go boom.
Yeah.
To the degree that the fire department rules for that building are
Spray it from outside, and don't get near it.
whatever.
stand back and don't fucking let it get into the building.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
don't let
Their
it
only
take
goal
over.
is contain, not put it out.
Burn it to the ground.
That's so when fire alarms go off in there, it's that's a serious one. That's one of those ones you're going, where is the fucking,
When,
how fast can I get out of here?
when the old tobacco building in Middletown burned
Mhm.
down, that was basically their philosophy then too, was we don't really know what's in this building. We don't know why it went up as fast as it went up. But there shouldn't have been. I mean, it was an old factory, like 100 years old. But across the street was the propane, like a huge propane tank that U-Haul has. So all they were doing is spraying the propane tank
Don't let it
down to
spread.
keep it
Keep it cold.
from getting too hot, and spraying the U-Haul building down to keep it from, because we walked up we could only get to about the U-Haul building and the heat was so intense from that thing.
Yeah.
You couldn't get closer to it. It was insanely hot. And that's why they went, oh, we're just gonna burn it down. Just let it burn.
You can always get closer.
Yeah, maybe if I was
It's
in a
just
turnout,
not
turnout.
enjoyable.
I wanted to get closer, but that, it was melting plastic on, the plastic siding on houses that were a block away. I mean, it was.
Yeah, the
hot.
amount of. heat that's-
Energy.
Yeah, the energy that's just dissipated, it's stupid.
Yeah, so that is a typical, if they don't know what something is, they're just going to let it burn.
Yeah,
My
the
experience.
worst
They-
training I ever had to go through was mine safety training.
My kids.
Yeah.
Hurricane.
So I'm actually a certified miner.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. I'm an IT guy, but I'm a certified miner.
Mhm.
Because we did an audit at a limestone mine,
You were talking.
650 feet underground.
Oh.
And you gotta carry the respirators and the emergencies. I mean, it's serious. And I'm like, I don't like this kind of shit. I'm an IT dude. I'm an IT guy. I go in like air conditioned off rooms. That's what happens. And the worst thing I gotta worry about is the door closing and the hail on coming up. You know?
And cold coffee.
And my coffee got cold before I drank it. These are probably.
Well, this deal I was describing, I had never been involved in a system where energy came from such a different, in a different form, in a different manner, in the things that were necessary and important to
keep that working.
keep it moving.
Yeah.
So the 2 million gallon tar tank, you gotta keep it heated, because if you don't.
It gums up the system.
Yeah.
Well, I did work at a candle factory, same thing. They got huge 20,000 gallon tanks of wax, and they have to stay hot. And then they got the way it's set up is they actually got it circulating through the plant
Mhm.
for different, and then they mix it at different stations depending on what, but they've got like 5 lines that run different wax mixtures. And then they mix it depending on what kind of if they're doing key lights or they're doing votives or whatever.
Yeah.
But those, I mean, they're 5-inch pipes that have to keep flowing. Because if they don't, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, easy enough to melt a vat, but yeah, getting pipes 50 feet away from the vat, that's a pain.
Yeah, how hot you have to keep that stuff, now, the pipes are all coiled. They're heater coiled,
Mhm.
there's all heaters on all, but still, and the insulate, so the pipe's this big. But it's actually this big with insulation and the
Mhm.
circulation. But that's steam, that's done by steam, that's steam circulated. So yeah, no, I'm used to those, working on that kind of stuff.
I mean, we dealt with steam on the submarine.
Mhm.
We made the steam through nuclear power,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but
Potato, potato.
steam is steam.
It is.
Steam can be dangerous if it's under high pressure.
Well, so I do automation for factories. And the big push now that I see, and I've been in multiple meetings over the last 2 years, is push it to the cloud. Everything in the cloud. And
I hate that.
yeah, there's uses for it. But the argument I've had, and I've had this in meetings, and I've been in multiple large meetings about with big companies. But they want to push all their HMIs to the cloud. And I'm going,
Wow. Wow. Why?
because they can manage it easier.
Oh, okay.
And the answer is, the correct answer is no.
I'm.
Local system for HMI and process control. Now, you want to put your data up in the cloud and you want to massage it and put it on dashboards and do all kinds of things. I don't care. I'm good with that. I'll help you do that. But if you want to put your HMIs in the cloud and process control in the cloud, I won't do it. I've turned down jobs.
That just seems counterproductive.
It's a safety issue more than anything. To me, it's a safety issue more than anything.
Yeah, it
You're
seems
talking
like,
about
a-
steam.
that seems like
Talking
a
about
bad
steam.
idea.
If you've
I
got
mean,
steam baths, you know, steam cooled tanks and things, and somebody goes, okay, we're gonna close a valve and everything's cloud-based, and it's gotta go from the local HMI out to the cloud and come back. Just send an issue. What happens if there's a glitch and that valve didn't close, and some guy opens it up and gets a face full of steam?
That seems like a horrible idea.
It is. So I've actually turned down work.
I don't know much about what you're saying, but I know that sounds like a horrible idea.
Like I said, I've always written it off as a safety problem, and I won't do it. Like I said, you wanna put analytics up in the cloud, good. I'll throw those up there all you want. You wanna put 250,000 data points up in the cloud every 10 milliseconds? I don't care if your bandwidth only, I'll do it.
Well, I ran across a situation. that
You
was
stop the
really
internet,
unusual.
shut it off.
Was railroad switches. You drive down the road and you see a switch. They're all switched from Jacksonville, Florida.
Walmart, good.
Okay.
So we had a line at the Ashland Works that we wanted to protect the rail crew. They were going to be doing a repair and we wanted to knock out that switch. And they said, no, we could not lock it up. It just scared the hell out of me that we having the crew work there, malfunction go on where a mainline train is barreling down with 200 feet of warning and the crew.
We had some redundant systems like up in the control area. We could operate the engineering section, but we weren't because it's the engineer's jobs to do
Right.
it.
Well, I think
But if
because
everybody was dead in the engineering section.
you had some control.
We had some control.
And that's there's nothing wrong with that. And like even in these plants are like, well, we'll put e-stops in.
Yeah,
I'm like, great. But do you understand what an e-stop does to a continuous process? You know, that's, like I said, that's what I do. I'm process engineering. I do
Right.
process engineering. I do the IT portion of it, but I understand process engineering, I understand a continuous process does not mean to shut down. And if you do an e-stop, there's no fix, there's no warm shutdown on that. It's like a hard boot, right? It's like shut it all down, kill it, don't matter what happened,
Oh.
fix it later.
we had in like the control, you could see all the pressures and we had all the gauges. So we had all the analytics, plus we had
Some limited control.
control. We could cross connect a few things, but somebody would actually need to go into engineering
Yeah.
to do something.
Well, it's the same logic, right? You're separating, you're in a submarine, you're separating an area from stuff. It's no different. Like I don't put, I check, like we have a lot of companies are on iPad control.
Yeah,
Like iPads for process control, start, stop processes and stuff on an iPad. I have zero problems with that. I also say the first thing you're doing is geofence of the bastards. If
oh,
you're in,
yeah, so you can't walk out of the building.
you're in this area and you've got a limited area where you can control
Yeah.
and the system will work. Otherwise, it's read only. If you're outside the geofence, read only. I've got zero problems with that. They're all Bluetooth. It's all Bluetooth nowadays anyways.
It's jammed or interference.
Yeah, there's.
Okay, you do realize that most plants still don't log in. The whole system is open. You can just, as long as if you have physical access, it doesn't matter.
That's. Patty works at Kroger's.
Mhm.
For a while, they were having her log in on her phone.
Mhm.
But it would only work if she was inside the building. Which, okay, fine, but she could go outside of the building and she could look at anything that. she
Yeah, once she
wanted
was
to-
logged in, she was logged in.
Yeah, once she was logged in, she was logged in.
Oh,
And she to clock out, she had to go back in the building and.
well, I still joke, like I said, with this, we're doing, I mean, there's a huge push in the industry for analytics, right? Everybody wants to know live data. This is huge. And factory floors are not designed for that, and factories in the last 30 years haven't been designed for that. And it's a bitch to retrofit, it's not, it's costly. So they're all like, we have customers that go, I want data, okay. I've been in meetings where they go, we want data, I'm like, okay, what data do you want? We want this, and I said, first question, what are your KPIs? Okay, you got those, okay, that's good, that's a start, some companies don't even have those. All right, are you collecting this data? Well, we just want it. Doesn't work that way. If it's not being collected, you can't have it. I can give you a pretty dashboard, but it doesn't do anything, the data's not there.
Well, I can only relate to the submarine. We would take readings every 15, 20 minutes, something like that, and write them down.
Right.
So we go, oh, there's a trend.
Right. Well, and that's what they want, right?
Right.
And that's fine. Nowadays, obviously, that's automated.
Automated,
We
right.
now have PLC collect data every 2 milliseconds
Yeah,
if we wanted to.
you won't write it down anymore.
Yeah, then it
What
goes
is
pushed
good?
into a database, and from that database, we can push it wherever we want. Great, but you gotta have the damn data point collected.
You gotta know what data you want in the
Yeah, do you
first
want
place.
oven temperature? Do you want variance? Do you want, what do you, whatever, you gotta know what you're collecting, or you can't trend it, right? Like you said, you can trend it, right? You can look at it and go, okay. Every 15 minutes, it's changing by X.
Yeah.
X or Y, right? Well, we can do that now on a push of the button, if the data's collected.
If we actually had a couple of different ways to verify the data,
Right.
because some of the data we were collecting was pretty important to.
Right.
To keeping us from doing stupid crap.
Oh, like starting World War III?
Or just crashing into the bottom of the ocean.
Just
That
hit
might
before.
be important.
Maybe a wall on a cliff somewhere, it'd be fine. It'd be fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, you stop taking your sonar readings, and what's going to happen? I don't know.
Hit the floor, hit a wall, whatever, hit a whale, whatever.
Stop sending in those. I was a navigation
Okay,
PT. So we would send GPS, well, latitude and longitude. It wasn't GPS. It was off of the SINS, which is an inertial navigator.
right.
And you'd send that to the navigator and he plots the thing, but we had like 3 different ways to get that number, so you could look at those numbers and go, oh, they're all within
There's a variance.
3 feet of each other.
Yeah,
It's
there's
close
always gonna be a
enough.
variance.
We're close enough. And one day, the navigation, he missed a call on the officer of the deck. He made a change, a course change, and the navigator missed it. So he also missed a speed call. So the submarine was actually going this direction, and he had us going off in this direction. And we kept telling him, there's no way our SINS unit is that far wrong. I mean, 50 feet, maybe 100 feet, but there's no way we're miles away from this, where this says. And so when the actual navigator came up, he looked at the charts and he was not at all happy.
Really?
He
I don't
just,
understand why.
he just went ballistic, and we stopped in the middle, completely stopped, because he called an all stop. He just took over from everybody. I don't know where we are. I don't know what we're doing, and we had to go up to the surface and actually get a satellite reading and a GPS reading to verify that what we had been saying the whole entire time was correct, and we were 100 foot away from where we thought we were, but we were a lot closer than they were.
Well, it's not so much not knowing where you are or where you've been, as much as I don't know where we're going.
So we had, that particular time, we had an operating, we could be anywhere within this
Region.
area. Well, it was a relatively small area for normal. So we were well outside of our operating area, which other submarines could have, you know, hit us or I think we actually ended up in a shipping lane somewhere. I mean, that would have been bad if a boat would have been above us.
Let's take this blindfold off and find out whether we really are in the middle of I-75.
Exactly.
Yeah, surface in the middle of I-75, right?
Yes. I mean, but we're sending our latitude and longitude in every 12 minutes like we're supposed to, and we're watching and we're going, there's no way we're there. Oh, yeah, well, this is where we are, your system's just messed up. Because nobody really trusted SIMS, because it was always off, but it was never off
Well,
that bad.
there's always a variance, right? It's like everybody now, I mean, GPS isn't perfect, right?
No,
It's got a variance.
yeah,
Depends on where you're at, depends on lots of things, right?
but it's close enough.
It's relatively accurate, right? It's like I argue with everybody, I'm like, nowadays it's down to what? Pretty guaranteed it's accurate within 15 feet. In
Well,
most cases. So if you have something you can track at 15 feet, that's pretty good to me. I'm good with that,
to get closer though, you bring in external factors and say, I know what that is. I know
Right,
what That is.
right? Then you do.
And we could do that if we were coming into port, we could go up and we would have the radar units. And we could track various points and triangulate, or we could just go up and actually look and say, okay, that's the lighthouse that we need. There's that building, there's this building, and we put it on the map and go, we're probably here, or really close. Because you could take one of those sextants and shoot the angles and go, okay, this is where we are.
Draw lines on the map.
And draw a line on a map. I mean, they have been doing that for thousands.
Since they've been on the, pretty much since they've had maps and been on the water.
Yeah. I mean, there were so many ways to verify that the SIMS was close enough. And was at least not 100 miles away from where the navigator thought we were.
I've had fun, I've got the house, I know a sextant, but I have a sunstone. Like the North Hughes, I've actually got one, a friend of mine gave it to me. Those are kind of cool. Doesn't matter what the weather's like out. You can figure out where you're at,
Yeah.
you can figure out where the sun's at. And from that, you can figure out where you're at. It's kind of a neat trick.
There's all kinds of neat ways to.
I'm just saying, it's one of those things you like carry around, it's like, it's just kind of fun to have. I used it on a land nav class. I was doing a land nav class once and I used it on it. Just rainy, shitty day out, I'm like, I can figure out where we're at, pretty much.
Like I said, I was a nav tech, ET. My real job was supposed to maintain and keep the machines running. My actual job was looking at a machine going, oh, okay, here you go.
That's the military for you.
Well, I have something a little bit more fundamental. About 30 years ago, I actively sailed for an old 16-foot catamaran up on Lake Erie. And if you're enveloped in fog up there, you have no clue as to what's north, east, south, or west. So I had fastened on the inside of my PDF a spherical compass in a work hole. So if nothing more than knowing that's north. I was happy with
Yeah,
that.
one of those. Something like that.
Yes.
Never leave home without it.
Well, I don't have too much of a problem if I'm on land, but if we're there in the ocean or a large lake,
You lose your bearings, really,
It's
you,
really easy on water to leave there.
yeah.
On land, I'm pretty much spot on, but on the water, on a big.
It-
we-
Unless,
sites-
unless you can see the land, which you can't see if you're out in the middle of Lake Erie.
No.
If you
So-
can see the land, you can more or less figure out where you are.
we have 3 boats. A friend of mine in New York his trailer is his over. My nephews who brought theirs from Kansas. And we're sailing and my friend from New York flips the boat. He's sailing by himself because his stupid son wanted to play video games rather than sail. So you can't ride the boat by yourself. Right. It requires 2 people just to get it up. So my nephews go back and one of them hops off and get the boat out. And he's helping him change the rigging so he won't flip it again. Friend of mine that's sailing with me, he said, "Oh, let the sails out, get out some food, and having a pop and eating a sandwich, and we're watching what's going on. They're some distance away, we can see them. But they're in the distance. So we're eating and taking a drink of the pot, and it's like, we're making all this commotion. What are they doing? And so we're studying and eating. Oh, they're trying to indicate something to us, and so we study. They want us to look behind us. So we turned and looked, and there's a friggin' water spout coming across the lake. Everything gets dumped in the cooler. And we head away. We don't have time to put on our foul weather gear. We're not gonna stop and dig it out and put it on. We are getting the hell out of this lake.
Yep. Yeah.
That was such a surprise.
I stood topside watch. Katrina, I think it was Katrina. One of the hurricanes, big pumpkin suit. You know what the pumpkin suit is? It's just it's massive. It's this big orange suit with your head just kind of pops out of it. It's meant entirely to just see you bobbing along the ocean when you fall off, because you're going to fall off.
It's not a thing, it's a when thing.
You get up on, especially during the hurricane, you got up on the thing and you tethered
Thing.
yourself to the deck. So the likelihood that you would actually go anywhere was bad. It's cold weather gear and it was brutal up there. Normal topside watch would last about an hour. During the hurricane, we were up there about 15 minutes and somebody else was coming up to take over. It was brutal. It was just. But trying to squeeze this big pumpkin suit through the hatch, that's fun. And you're soaking wet, and by the time you get down, you're just miserable.
Well, the thing about tying off a large vessel is the vessel's pretty stable. I'm not gonna tie myself off doing a little 16-foot catamaran.
No, you need to go away.
I'm about the same level of stability as it is.
That's the closest I've actually been, though, was to something like that. And of course, it was mostly just the wind and the rain and just overall general nastiness that the hurricane was still way out of. We were in port, because. You know, the Navy actually said, unless you actually have to be out there, just come back. So we actually went in. We're in port.
Well, a while ago, when you're talking about coming up, you seeing the White House and this sort of things. I was thinking to myself, you come up and you recognize that girl at the tugboat. You know when you're in the right place.
See, I always found it kind of interesting when we come into port, because the tugs would meet you at the head of the channel. And the tug masters are supposed to know the channel really well. They're supposed to be able to get you in there. So I always found it interesting that we were still up there taking our readings and doing all that. I guess we're just verifying what the tug masters know.
Well, Julie was never in command of the gun. She was a self-described decade. So when someone said, go do this, that's what she did. I think it's funny. She was very proud of the fact that she had a pink monkey fist for throwing away.
Our sometimes we would get civilian tug masters, and sometimes we get Navy. I guess it didn't matter. They were the ones available to get us into the channel, so. But that was always fun, because you never really knew who was going to show up to actually guide you into where you needed to go.
I gotta get you with my oldest son. He just got his captaincy. And the Navy is trying to get him to hire on as a civilian contractor. And his girlfriend is telling him no, and I'm like, there you go.
Civilian contractors make bank.
I don't know in Navy what it is, but in the Army, that's a warrant officer. And they didn't have to do anything.
We had a warrant officer.
Okay.
He moved up from, he was a senior master chief and moved into warrant officer. Went to college, all because of the Navy and everything, and moved into that. And there were 3 warrant officer ranks. He was the lowest. But he wanted to become an ensign. He wanted to move clear up, and as far as I know, he did. He was a real smart guy. He was in charge of the radio room, which was adjacent to the navigation, my navigation equipment, so I could go and sit in the radio room, goof off. And he was another one. He was outside of our department. He was probably one of the worst people to get on their bad side, but inside our department, he just was a joker, just like everybody else. He basically, warrant officers just to step up from,
In the Army, I don't know whether it was your experience, but warrant officers were neither fish nor fowl. They just.
Oh, yeah.
They were there.
yeah. Well,
They collected a paycheck and they went home at 4:30.
he was in charge of, we had a full Eagle captain, who was a captain. We had a commander for the XO. We had a commander for the engineer. We had a commander for navigation. We were full of high up people that either should have had their own boat or were working towards getting their own boat. Either way, they were extremely high up in the chain of command. And then we had little nobody people that did all the work. But we didn't have too many ensigns. So the one warrant officer that we had who was working towards becoming an ensign, he to all us enlisted guys, he was just like us. But to all the officers, he had to be an officer because
Well, did you ever think about being on a weapon system that could destroy your?
do I think about it?
Did you?
Now, my boat was mostly R&D.
Okay.
So while we were nuclear capable, we rarely,
So you were a big Ohio boomer.
no, we were a fast attack. And of course, every vessel has to be ready if we got the call. So we carried weapons, but we did not. I mean, we shot a torpedo once because we had to test the system. We did some other stuff, but
It works.
it works. Of
Okay,
course it
we're good.
works.
We're good for 5 years, we don't have to do it again.
We were an R&D vessel. We were in dry dock quite a bit. The boat was split apart twice while I was on board. So I got to see parts of that boat that you would never, ever get to see unless somebody came along with a cutting torch and cut it apart. And I mean, it's kind of fascinating how some of those systems work when you consider all that. But we had to do seat because when you put the thing back together, you have to seal it back up. And then they did a meteorological survey of all the seams, and then they said, we think it's good, go do the sea trial. So we have been to crush depth, or I've been to crush depth twice, which is fun.
I would think it would be a little more than fun.
Oh, it's definitely fun. You gotta trust the civilian contractors.
Ooh,
I
that's
don't call
rough.
that fun then.
Tell you,
Lowest bidding welder.
our contract, they were a good bunch of guys.
Well, my dad owned a company that was an OEM factory for wastewater treatment systems. And so we did a lot of stainless steel work. Our welder was a Navy welder. That was weld.
Yeah,
I mean, that son of a bitch could weld.
yeah.
I mean, now, you know, the theory, right, is that you want a good weld, it's like a roll of dimes that have just been knocked over, right? That's the theory. That boy could weld. Almost all of his welds looked that way. And he could mix or TIG. It didn't matter to him.
You gotta trust that the metallurgical report is right. You gotta trust all that. I mean, there's nothing that you could do about it anyway. If the captain said you're doing this, it's what you're,
And if it didn't work, it's quick.
yeah. If it
You
did,
wouldn't be able to lodge a complaint, it doesn't.
Well, I like the stories about the Liberty ships that were being manufactured during World War II. They were only a 1/4-inch plate. They were designed for one trip. They were maximum speed 6 knots. And the welders would throw 2 welding rods down in the seam and just weld into the top of it. And I'm thinking, if you hit a wave log That son of a bitch is gonna peel open, like perforated packaging.
See, there was between, the boat that I was on and a WW2 boats, completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. And
They don't use metal in it.
do I?
They don't use metal in.
They don't use metal, it's all plastic. Oh, wait, it's
No.
carbon fiber.
The Russians use ceramic or concrete, wasn't it?
We-
Subs. Concrete. they can
I
sit
don't
on
know
the
about
bottom.
the tax subs. I know they
Well,
had
they're-
some stuff sitting at the mouth of the Potomac that was a big pile of concrete.
Would you believe we had a Russian submarine pull in to our port in Norfolk? No, that. We were allowed to tour it. They came and toured one of ours and we were allowed to go on to theirs. That's pretty cool. And
Well, we were.
other than everything being in Russian, it was pretty much the same submarine. I was like,
What, do you
I
think
could
we
probably-
different engineers?
I could probably drive this.
Same guy designed the one, designed the other.
Dynamic boat. Electric boat.
All their nuclear engineers come here to learn.
It was remarkably close. We had one pull in from, I think it was Australia. That one was different. That one was a lot different.
Upside down.
It was kind of squarish.
Backwards.
It was kind of squarish. It was a weird,
Well, you know why that was, it was built down under.
right.
Just didn't correct when they came into the northern hemisphere.
We had a, European, English sub oil. They weren't there for very long and I did get a chance to take a tour of theirs, but their boat from the outside, it looked very similar to ours.
The only sub I've been in is in Chicago. Didn't have to get anywhere near the water for that.
You go up to Groton, they've got a WW2 boat you can tour. And
That's what this one is.
the difference between what I was on and a WW2 boat,
Yeah.
night and day. It's WW2. You're cramped, you're stuffed in there, they just made enough to make it work, and
Down Periscope.
you had the diesel generator, so that you had to go to the surface to turn on the diesel. Charge the batteries, go back under for a little while, go back up, charge the batteries, go back down. Anyway, that was fun. Anybody got anything new to play with?
Nothing new. That's old. I
That's-
bought that in 1983.
That'd be a compass.
That has been
I've seen them before.
entire length of the Appalachian Trail. It has been coast to coast 3 or 4 times, maybe more. I have carried this thing with me for a very long time. It's been a good companion, better than a lot of the people.
And I was thinking as I was looking at that. Having that on the inside of my PDF, really made me feel secure.
Yeah,
It's a stupid little thing, it's not much to it, but God, I love that thing there.
Yeah, but if you can get a compass heading, you can at least get somewhere close to where you
oh, yeah.
are.
Well, I
Or
knew if I
were.
sailed south, I would hit the United States, whereas if I sailed some other direction, I didn't know where the hell it was gonna be.
On mine, I checked it just about every morning when I'd wake up while I was on the trail. Cause you wake up and it's like, well, it's all green. I come from that way? That way?
Yeah,
Shit, I don't wanna go the wrong direction.
so that's,
Someone start over.
Yeah,
it's worse in a large body of water. There's absolutely nothing around to even give you some sort of idea of,
Largest desert we have.
yeah,
I mean,
it's,
It's on.
yeah, but if it was foggy like it was for him and you couldn't see the sun,
It's just like a uniform
gray.
gray, like that light has no particular orientation to it. And the sky is like that everywhere. So, you know,
if you don't have radar, if you don't have any of the fancy stuff, you know, you're out there in the middle of nowhere going, I think I came from that direction.
The guy at lunch yesterday, he was talking about when he went and earned the thing, you know, they have like morning shoot and afternoon shoot, and the squads are all competing against each other for marksmanship, you know, and like the third day, they sent them out, and it was so foggy, you couldn't see your hand in front of your arm, much more where the hell the targets were, so they all missed them. So their whole squad, you know, didn't have a single hit.
Well, you think about how disorienting it is just out on a lake, be out in the middle of the ocean, and all you see is waves.
when you can't see the shore, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it
distance doesn't matter at that point, right?
If you can't reach the bottom, it doesn't matter.
it's. Yeah, I mean, okay, this is my new toy.
What'd you get?
You can't see it. It's a color ebook reader.
Oh, cool.
Cheap color ebook reader.
How cheap?
$150.
Neat. How long last battery?
I got it yesterday, so I don't know.
At
Oh,
least
it's a Kobo.
24 hours.
I've heard of that. Never used one, but heard of them.
That is the Clara color. So. A few months ago, it's not turned on right now. Do I?
Right?
Yes, turn it on. There's a button on the back. Just hit the button one time. Do I? Yes. I bought it specifically to read comic books because reading color comic books in black and white is,
What's fun?
Weird.
yes.
Mm.
It means you just didn't read comic books that were old enough.
Some of those are.
Slowly.
So they made the Clara a while ago, and I've got that model, the black and white model. I really like it. But they came out with this a month ago, maybe. Maybe not even. This is relatively new. And most color ebook readers are like around $300. And this is half. Okay,
But
I'll give you, it's a smaller screen, but it works.
Yeah, and it's actual color.
It's actual color. Yeah.
I could expect is black, white, and red or something.
No, the
How do they do that?
the color technology for e-paper has
Improved?
massively over the last couple of years.
The matte finish is non-reflective and it looks like it'd be really easy on your eyes to read.
Yeah, I like that. I like that non-glare for like reading stuff like that.
Who makes that, Leroy?
Kobo,
Who?
Kobo, Kobo.
Kobo, sounds like a Japanese word.
Yeah, kind of. That's the black and white.
I had one of these. So mine didn't have that fancy back.
So,
4 of these. I initially got one when Amazon first started selling them, and they were easy to hack,
Yeah,
because I wanted to put PDFs for printer manuals and all of the data that I needed to carry with me. And the act of putting it on there was enough for me to remember most of it, so I never ended up using it.
Oh,
I'm
now,
bad.
now I'm reading the Target email. The, that's $119.
Mhm.
At least it was when I bought it. If they would have had this
Oh,
for,
yeah.
for, you know, another $30, I would have jumped all over the color.
I got one that was cheaper than that.
Wait,
It was a Kobo. I picked it up at Walmart. I think it was 99.
yeah, it probably was that, because that one goes on sale every now and then.
Okay.
I just happened to pay 119, so. That was marked down from 140 or whatever it was. It seemed like a decent enough deal. That one's got the backlight for the front. It's actually a front light. It's not really a backlight.
So what format does it require?
It will read EPUBs, EPUB 3s. It'll read their PDF, CBR, CBZ. There was something, text. It'll read something else. There's. It's pretty much the standard. It's not the Amazon stuff. It doesn't read the Amazon stuff, but
Really?
well, no,
I thought
they're
their stuff was all ebook.
no, they're still
Nope,
they're Mobi or
Yeah.
AZW.
yeah, but that's a version of Mobi, I think.
Is it?
I think so.
I could pull those off of my reader. I couldn't download them. I could get them on my reader, and then I could copy them off the reader into some application for Linux that would convert them to other stuff.
Yeah. Calibra.
Libra, yeah.
Calibre.
That one. The one that I can't pronounce.
Yeah, it's RE, not ER.
That's my old Sony ebook reader from 2013.
Yeah. I
That-
wanted to get one of the big Sonys.
That
Could
is
never justify it.
all reliable, but it's starting to have memory issues. The memory's getting corrupt. That's why I bought that one.
On my Kobe or Kobo, I opened it up at one point. It has a SD card. So you can play with it.
That's actually one of the selling points for this model. It's they're using both of these, both the Claris are using like recycled material,
Mhm.
which okay, should make it something, but one of their selling points for the color one was they're going to sell replacement parts for it. So if
Oh,
stuff
nice.
starts failing, and they're going to tell you how to actually open it up, and
Mhm.
so that might be nice. It's got 16 gigs right now, which is usually plenty for books. This old one only has 2 gigs.
I'm going to show my cynicism here. Big selling point is it's made from recycled material that you can hold in the palm of your hand. Meanwhile, we have a whole friggin' mountain of trash.
All I'm doing is saying what their selling point is. I'm
understand.
not endorsing that is.
I'm not being critical of you at all. It's just like the big selling point is So minuscule.
They, that's one, when you go to the Kobo book, their store, the Kobo store, and you click on the Claris, that's one of the very first things they say is what, 84% recycled material. And the stupid screen protector that was on this one that I took off, it says 100% recycled material all over it, so I had to take it off because
It was in the.
it was in the way.
It's like, the recycling people are wanting me to strip the tin cans out of the trash, wash them and scrub them, and then put them in recycle. It's like, I watch every heat at the BOF. 310 tons every 45 minutes. They spilled more than I would ever have reclaimed from every can of trash in the.
I watched something that even though, you know, a lot of our plastics have recycle on it, there's only like 2 types of plastic that actually can be recycled. And most of the time it's not that,
Yeah,
but I personally think their selling point should have been that it's user repairable, because
Yes,
that would have been like,
but.
yeah, I'm curious what
You
that
have to
screen.
realize, you're a special person. 99.99% of the people in the United States didn't have the slightest concept of how to open that. Or even have the balls to do it.
well, but if they tell you how to do it,
It wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter.
At the time.
Yeah,
it
I'd
should-
repair one.
You
it should
would.
be fairly simple.
Probably
to
any of
open
us in
this
this
up.
room. The rest of this building would throw it in the trash can and not think twice about it.
I don't know anymore. Somebody might actually try to get somebody to fix it. Maybe not them, but
Okay, speaking of that, I've forgotten to bring those in. I have 2 childproof cases for iPads. Is anybody interested?
You mentioned that.
Hmm?
I said, you mentioned that. I tried to give him to Leroy last week.
I don't need it. I don't need it.
You're not the only
I
little
brought them
person.
in. Did I bring them in?
No, I don't think so. I think I would have remembered if you'd got something. And
Well, I'm just cleaning out one car to put it together and put it in washing. I don't have any use for them. I don't know anybody that has any use for them, but if anybody had a use for it, it would be somebody in this group.
Might get somebody on that.
My toy.
Leave it.
Nice.
I could put it in the front yard with a chain on it, says do not steal on it.
And then it's gone.
And then it's gone.
There was somebody there in Bethel the other day put a refrigerator outside or something, said free. Nobody took it, so
Oh,
they put a sign
$20
on it.
bucks.
I put a sign on there for $50, it was gone in an hour. Somebody stole it.
So that is an add-on car. I mean, I
Yeah.
know the M2 drive is, but
Mhm.
the actual socket is an add-on car.
And very difficult to push onto that thing.
Okay,
I was somewhat concerned. No, that's a Raspberry Pi 5 with an add-on NVMe interface. And a smallish drive. I think it's 128 gig. Honestly, I don't remember.
You find ones up at Mark's doing a little bit ago.
In the 2242s, it's got to be that size.
They had some of the small ones.
Yeah.
They had some of the small ones forward, but that's fine.
That boots in 8 seconds-ish.
Side note,
ish.
That's
my
good.
stupid 7060s have a third video port. above the RJ45 jack for a display port.
Okay,
So my little plugs I just bought don't fit.
well, take that out. It's a daughter card.
Well, but they're wide, they're not a RJ45 jack. They're a
Mhm.
display port plug instead of an RJ45 hole.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it mini
I
display port or is it
grabbed
a
one
micro
off the
display
floor.
port?
It's probably regular display port.
Yeah, it's
What he-
regular
he-
display
What he's
port.
talking about, it's a regular display port, I know what it is.
Yeah. I was kind of taken back by that and it has a daughter board there.
Yeah,
and,
but that daughter board should pop right out.
well, yeah.
One
it
screw
comes
holds
out.
it in.
But it's a oval display port hole instead of an RJ45 hole.
Hmm.
Which I was kind of like, well, that's
Well, mine wasn't an RJ45.
wasn't it?
No,
Oh.
it's an oval. That's a multi-purpose
Is
thing.
Okay. I say it looked a lot wider and that looked short for an RJ45, but I didn't try to put one in.
It,
Yeah, give it a try.
if it's an oval, it should fit, right?
Well, yeah, so you can get a VGA
They're really
display for
odd
there, old display port. There's other stuff you can put in there too, serial port.
That's cool. I didn't know it was that. But looking at the one, it's like, because their daughter cards on all three of them, I was like, son of a bitch. And then I was like, that looks short for, I mean, it might just fit, but I wasn't sure the clips would still clip. Cause it's not as tall as the one that our RJ45 jack was.
It's probably like that Panasonic laptop that the top, you can pull out that module and stick a different,
Well.
they make different modules.
The other concept too was, I was thinking if I could just Dremel a hole in the top of the lid and.
But you could, but you probably don't need to. It
Well, but then
probably,
I'd have all three display ports. On
Oh.
the back of it too.
you know what, maybe you did bring them. Maybe I haven't unpacked my,
I get back from last week.
I remember those now.
Okay.
Now I remember those.
I was having a senior moment there thinking. Well,
We got rid of them.
those?
He done unloaded them.
That, if you pop that off, it just pops off.
Yeah.
Well, with a little force, but it pops off. There's a little cable thing that plugs down in there and then you can put any module in there you want.
Yeah.
I bet that's the same deal with what you've got. They've just made different modules. Or I could put an Ethernet connector
Well-
in there, an actual serial, like a 9-pin serial
Oh,
connector.
DD9?
There's two plugs on the inside of it on the bell that you can snap a different connector on, or whatever, I guess, I don't know. Put on it.
You
Yeah,
know, I
one of
wondered
those
why
is a
that
PCI
backpack was so
interface.
heavy.
Well, those aren't heavy, those are like.
What's the,
It's all the other stuff and then just the other, I guess the added weight on my back, I'm like. Huh, this feels heavier than it usually does.
just the fact that you could hide maybe a little bitty box like that was a little.
Ah,
Be a great console controller
I-
for dashboards or something.
I remember those because made the comment that I have nobody that
But you
none
can-
of the grandkids have anything that could use those, and I was forced to take them anyway.
He gave you iPads, right?
I have one. I did not take all of it.
Did you get it working?
It does work.
Well, no, you got a case.
I don't need a case, but I could use it. Okay, whatever. Just not gonna argue with it anymore.
Well, it's already in your bag, so obviously we won this last. I'm just saying.
Or the week before, or whatever. I remember it now.
This
He's got
This
two more now.
has
evidently.
no technology interface, I mean, Art may relate to it. I signed up for a Medicare Advantage plan several years ago. The advantage being they took less money out of Social Security. I got $400 a year to use for the parent stuff. It included dental, chiropractic, and a gym membership for both my wife and I. Okay, which is a pretty good deal compared to the regular. membership. So the Y in Middletown, Atrium, we looked at all the plans and we decided that would be the gym we chose to join. So we get a code from United Healthcare, take it in and say, we would like to join up. And so I tried the machines and I tried the pool and the floor exercises and the lights, and I just wasn't really particularly interested. My wife, however, has been going and has been using the pool classes and been enjoying it. I get a telephone call from the Y yesterday saying, we have been reporting your usage of the gym to the United Healthcare. And they didn't pay us for April. We want to charge you $40 because you didn't show up.
Because you didn't show up.
Because you did show up.
Because I didn't show up. Yes. Yeah, I didn't show up in the month of April, so the Y wanted to charge me $40 because they didn't get reimbursed from United Healthcare.
I think they need to go down, Sam.
And the woman was rude and pushy, and I finally told her, stop interrupting me. And ultimately, she gave me a big huff over the telephone and said something about her supervisor. I'm waiting with bated breath.
Yeah, I'm guessing you won't hear that.
But I had no idea that the Y was reporting my usage to United Healthcare.
I was gonna say, you're on the solar sneakers or something?
No, it's through United Healthcare. I have no idea what their name of it is. They do have something like that, a program like that at the Y, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, cause their moms and dads kicked in for that, they have to go every within 8 weeks or something like that, or it gets canceled. And they can't renew.
if someone had told me that, I would have been sure to go in and swipe my
Yeah.
card.
Well, and that was the thing, COVID really kind of made that all weird, so then they hadn't really been picky since COVID. But
I just thought it was a strange arrangement.
That's my middle kid. She lives up in Faribault, up near the base, up near right at. Now she has a house and whatever, but technically she's considered homeless for purposes of getting her kids into the school. Somehow or another, she used to live in Miamisburg. Miamisburg and Fairborn were both fighting to get her kids into their school, because apparently if you take so many homeless kids, they get some sort of government,
they get an extra $10,000. Okay.
they get money from the government. So for purposes of schooling, she is technically homeless, even though she's not. And it's probably a very similar, because she lived in Miamisburg. Miamisburg fought to keep those kids, probably because they were going to get a huge amount of money. It's got to be a very similar situation. The Y said, hey, we just lost $40. Why did we lose $40?
And we're gonna take it on you because you didn't show up.
Because you didn't come here.
The whole you didn't
It's
show
your
up part
fault.
cracks me up.
Yeah.
Now, I can see, and you've been using it an awful lot, you know, you've been in here every day for the last month. Okay, then we want $40 because we, you know, we didn't.
We're gonna treat
I
you
could
like
go with
trash,
that.
we expect you to come back.
We're only charging the healthcare $40, but you've been here like $80 worth of.
Exactly. Get that one, but the fact that we're just charging you because you weren't here.
Yeah,
That's
that's,
awesome.
you can ask to share the money. To make it happen.
Which mine scan is this?
Atrium, which is just across 75 from the Little Town.
That's interesting.
And we don't do this.
The whole idea of the entitlement,
I'll do it.
you drive down the road and you pass a gas station and they send you a bill because you didn't buy gas.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
You didn't use our services and we didn't get paid, so we're gonna charge you.
We need money. We need it. Hey, maybe I should start charging everybody if they don't show up to the meeting.
Make sure they got.
Okay.
So you've been here twice, so you better start showing up
I
more.
better turn it on where I'm going to get billed. I'm going to get a bill.
You're now a member.
Now, I'm now
You
expecting,
are
if not, I can get a bill.
You're official now.
The fact that it was just backwards from what normal services.
Yeah. Let's say that.
And that's a new one. I gotta say, that's a new one.
The ones you've gotten, you really.
I've heard weird stuff like that before, but
That one's new though.
yeah, that
I've
was
heard weird stuff like, but that one's new.
Well, they're struggling so bad too, probably really stuck it to them pretty hard, but.
It was before COVID. I went to find out what it would cost in Hamilton.
Oh my God, but just, yeah, the actual membership fee is like stupid.
It was $300 a month.
Yeah.
I love my kids, but not that much.
Like military.
If care feeding and education were included in it, it might not be a bad deal.
Yeah, I just drop them off and come back in 6 months.
Drop them off and come back in 16 years.
Next to nothing.
the middle kid, she had a Y membership for a while, but it got to the point where it was just way more and they weren't using it enough to even justify the fact that she had the membership in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, if I was gonna exercise, definitely go for the purple place.
Planet Fitness.
Planet Fitness, yeah, like $12-15 a month. Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna go to the gym, that's what you're gonna do, that makes sense. It depends on what you want, right, so. I mean,
Well,
I was actually surprised. I did a New Year's resolution. I went and signed up. And I guess it was April. I'm like, okay, this ain't working out. And they just said, okay, no problem, signed me out and
Yeah.
never charged again. I had talked to a lot of people that are like, oh, you're screwed now.
Some of the places are like that, a couple of the newer ones like Planet Fitness are
Mhm.
big on the no contract, no requirements, but you can't spend any time.
Yeah,
And what they're doing, what they're counting on
so you forget.
is they're counting on you signing up for a New Year's resolution and then you just pay it for a year. And then, but if you call and cancel, like, sorry, no problem, here you go. So then you can do it a year later.
Mhm.
So then you just do it again. You know, I didn't have any trouble with them, so I'm, okay, we're gonna try it again this year. You know, type of logic.
Well,
And then it's not residual, but it's, you didn't lose, they didn't lose a potential customer at that point.
Right.
They make it cheap and they make it friendly, you come back.
Right. It's a good policy. I mean, it is. I mean,
Good.
why is $350 per month? And then they call and tell you, yell at you because you didn't show up.
The thing with the Y, I mean, the kid, she got all her kids in the swimming classes and other classes, so, yeah, I mean, I guess it was okay-ish, but
Yeah,
it
they depend
just,
on what you do.
it got to that point where you're going, I'm paying this much for nothing.
Yes. Well, about 35 or 40 years ago, my daughter was.
Yep,
7 or 8. And I felt it was
I knew it was coming.
really appropriate for her to learn how to swim. I never learned how to swim.
I can't swim.
I sail,
Really?
but I wear a PDF. I'm not afraid of the water, but I have a great deal of respect for it. So I go down with my daughter because it's Parents' Day. Parents are invited to get in the pool with their children. And so there's a bunch of parents. How many parents end up in the pool? Me.
One.
And so I'm not comfortable out there because I sink.
Yeah.
And so I've got my finger on the edge of the pool. And the little girl lifeguard comes by and kicks my finger off. And I look at her and say, "Don't do that again." And I think the tone was enough to carry the thought. So they're going to teach me to be drown proof. And so I'm supposed to do a somersault, take off my shoes, and do another somersault, take off my jeans. And then do another somersault, then inflate them with water. And so I do a somersault, and drink half the pool.
Like you do.
Yeah.
I thought I do.
And it's like, my daughter is going, and she's over there with her jeans inflated, floating around. I'm thinking, I'm gonna keep her close because it might go under. I have something to
Somebody
fight on.
grab.
Yeah, I just never learned to swim. I'm in Ohio, we're landlocked. I lived in, we didn't have pools around my house.
What?
That
We are?
surprises me.
It's funny, right? Go figure, right? Well, I grew up in be honest, I grew up poor. Couldn't go to the pool, we couldn't go to the Y, there were no public pools. I mean, your best bet from where near me on the east side, there was a Salt Lake Pool and it was too expensive.
Yeah.
So I never learned to swim, even going up, now I've voted all my life. I've been out to Eastport a ton. I go out to Eastport we used to go out to Eastport all the time. I just never learned to swim.
Yeah.
And to this day, everybody laughs at me, but I've done scuba diving.
It's kind of swimming.
So my problem with swimming is I just never learned how to swim and stay above water. Well, scuba diving don't care. You're supposed to be underwater. You're breathing, so it doesn't matter. I'm pretty good underwater that way. I don't have to worry about breathing at that point. So the first time
You got your respirator.
as long as I got air, I'm good. The best part of it was I went down to Mexico and we did a discover scuba thing. The 1-day resort class. You try it and then you go out and do scuba diving.
You got
Most of the
about
time
5
it's in a
minutes.
pool. Most of the time the first thing's in a pool, right? Not this one. First thing we did was roll up a goddamn boat in 20 feet of water. And that's where we did our practice swim. I'm like, and me, not friendly, respects water, doesn't really enjoy it a whole lot going, this is going bugs. So I'm like, oh, well, let's do it. I got in, did fine, cleared the mask, took the deep breath, cleared the regulator, did all the fun stuff. They're like, all right, you're good. Just swimming. I'm like, all right. Rolled back into water, got 35 feet underwater, swimming around. I was fine. I understand the concepts. I just don't stay above water. I have no body fat. I don't have enough body fat. I don't float.
The Navy, that's one of I was
That one you gotta
actually
do.
shocked. I was actually shocked how many people
just don't swim.
in our group didn't know how to swim, and I was like, okay. I mean, I had been swimming most of whatever, but they taught us how to do the blow up the pants. They taught us all the fun survival stuff that you're supposed to remember, but actually when you get out on
In the
the,
heat of the moment, you're gonna get
you
water.
go, wait, didn't they just send up a big, huge float? Yes, they did. That's what I'm getting into. I'm not gonna float on my pants. So I was legitimately surprised. Out of like the class of 40 people, I think 15 of them didn't know how to swim.
Well, that's.
And they joined the Navy.
Yeah, that's the funny. I
You
grew
would
up,
think that that would actually be something,
now I will say this, with me not being a big swimmer, I made sure that both my children could swim. I mean, both my children are freaking, guppies. I mean, I can't get my
That's-
12-year-old out of the goddamn water to get it.
that's pretty much what the middle kid said. She knows how to swim, but she just knows how to swim. She said, my kids need to know this. I'm
Well,
like,
my kids know. I told my kid he's saving my ass. I told my 11-year-old that. I'm like, you can swim, you're gonna save my ass if something.
so my wife, she doesn't know how to swim. She her dad threw her in a pool and she sank instantly, and she is scared to death of any body of water. I cannot get her to go out on a boat. I barely can get her to go on a bridge to go over top of water.
I understand. Well, I know why. I was young, like 4 or 5 years old, went to a pool, first time ever. Got in the water, slipped on the damn step, knocked myself out.
Oh,
And after that, never was a high priority. And now I'm 52 years old and I don't care. Yeah, but you know what I mean? That was my first experience. It wasn't good.
I haven't been swimming in 25, 30 years.
6 months.
Yeah.
My first
it-
recollection of swimming, I was 4. My folks went down to Cumberland Lake.
Mhm.
Dad had a long piece of rope, and we had a Volkswagen Beetle, so it had tire tubes.
Yeah.
He inflated the tubes, tied the rope around it, put it around his shoulders. My sister's in one, I'm in one, and he's swimming out into Cumberland Lake. And I swam to catch up with him, because it looked fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, the guy concept's cool. I'm not arguing any of
I'm-
this. It just doesn't work.
I'm thinking that's probably very similar. I probably was a little older, but my grandmother owned a house out on a river.
Mhm.
And we had a tire swing and all kinds of stuff. I don't ever remember actually swimming. But I remember going out on that tire swing
Yeah.
and then you had to get back to the shore. So maybe I just learned.
Yeah.
Well, because you were having fun doing the thing, you'll figure out how to get back to shore, right?
Anyway, it's 7 o'clock, guys. It's time to go. We'll see you next week. We are virtual next week.
Good night, all.
See everybody later. Bye.
Take care. Take care.
You wanna see how quick